confesses. Springsteen loses his case. Scott loses his case. One gets death, one gets life. 7 years later, both cases are reversed, and they come back for new trials.
So the district attorney decided that since the confessions indicate that the girls, or at least one of the girls, was raped, they might find DNA evidence to use for a new trial.
Do you have more yet? I don't know if I have or not.
At the first trial, they had already done profiling, and there was no foreign DNA on those swabs. That's because at the time they needed globs of liquids. But now they tested it by kind of a new technology called y-str, which can find much smaller amounts of DNA.
The state had gotten knowledge of this new y-str testing and thought this could be it, because now we're not allowed to use these confessions against each other. We're going to prove with science that he did it. There's an X chromosome and there's a Y chromosome. If you're XX, you're a female. If you're XY, you're a male. y-str, what it does is it ignores the female DNA.
We get a call from the judge's office saying, hey, can you come and meet right now? When we got there, prosecutors said we have found a full y-str profile in Amy Ayers. And it doesn't match any of your defendants. Your two or the other two either.
The most important thing the DNA stands for is it's someone else. It is not any one of these four boys. And so I suppose the state of Texas now is going to say that there were really 5 boys there instead of 4. Never mind, that is inconsistent with the theories they used to try them the first time. They thought they were going to get a y-str result and hammer the point home. Instead, they got the truth, and they can't deal with it.
So who's been watching the yogurt shop murders? This case, brutal case that happened all the way back in 91 and remains unsolved, even with, as you heard there, a DNA sample on file. That's a whole conundrum all in itself. The feds withholding information about it. There's so much peculiar, just bizarre, crazy circumstances to this case. It's truly mind-blowing. But one thing people are noticing is, look at the door on this interrogation room in the police station. They spelled quiet wrong. And with the fact that the police haven't been able to get it together and solve this case, the quote-unquote confessions that they obtained, and just in general their conduct and the way they worked on this case, and you look at the door, quiet spelled wrong, really kind of brings it all together full circle on just kind of how stupid they all look. Because as you heard there, right, this happened back in 91. Originally, there was 2 Mexican dudes who were arrested and confessed to it. They later said they were forced to confess and were absolved of the crimes. Not much is in the documentary about that. But later, these 4 kids who were at the mall near the yogurt shop where these 4 girls were killed, the store, I believe, was robbed and lit on fire. They found these 4 teenagers there at a mall that had a gun, and something they don't mention a lot in the documentary as well is the gun didn't match either. And it's not like they picked these kids up right away. Many years later, after they kept bringing them in where they were saying, we didn't do it, we don't know, we didn't do it, we don't know, they pretty much, as you see, there's a lot of awareness being spread about false confessions, and that's something that's a main focal point of the documentary, is that where we've seen in other cases, the Central Park 5 being one, and there's a few other mentioned in a particular tweet here. Like when you have individuals kept in an interrogation room and held for hours where they're free to go, but they play mind games with them and don't let them go and just keep pressing them and pressing them, eventually they gave them something. And this, like I said, was many years later where these dudes were brought in multiple times and said, no, we didn't do it. We didn't do it. We didn't do it. To then the police just forcing on them like they did it. And there's even a point in there where, as the thing kind of became, well, you've repressed it. It's in your mind. You did it. You just got to break that wall down and just, tell us the truth. And I think I remember. It's just all absolutely bonkers that this case went down the way it did. Everyone share your thoughts, what you believe about this all. But there's one case where one of the kids that they were interrogating, when they were talking about what were the girls wrapped up with, he was like, or tied up with, rest in peace, they were killed brutally. It's absolutely horrific. He's like, shoelaces. No. He even said napkins, extension cord. It was like 5 different things. They played it on a documentary from the interrogation footage where finally he said, they're like, yep, that's it. It was like they didn't allow these kids to not confess. And it's crazy to me that they all repeatedly showed up without attorneys. I think there was one out of the 4 that never actually confessed, and he actually came home sooner than the others. But these dudes, some of them were on death row, death and life sentences. And later, when DNA evidence, as you heard, got more advanced, this y-str DNA doesn't match any of them. They went as far to test, because they said, well, maybe it's contamination. They went as far to test anyone that worked there, police, firemen, anyone. They were all eliminated. And then this sample, which they don't know who it belongs to, and there's the feds for some reason won't share information. They're holding back about it. I really want to know more about that. Everyone or anyone out there, comment below and let me know if you're more up on that. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the buttons as well, guys. But the feds could, tell them exactly who it is, and they won't, from my understanding. And there was a police officer or a detective, as there's a lot of detectives that are just pissed, like, these dudes had to do it. Just because there's DNA, that means that there was a 5th one that we don't got. And once again, all they ever had on these dudes is a gun that didn't match the crime, and them eventually telling on themselves after being called in and going back and back in for different interrogation sessions over the course of years, till finally they quote unquote remembered it. And if you watch the footage, it's a joke, man. In some ways, this case reminds me of that Devil's Knot movie, and another infamous case. And I believe it was back during the Satanic Panic era as well, because earlier on in this investigation of this case, that was a theory and a narrative that people were running with, that it was some kind of sick, twisted crime like that, a ritual or something. But one of the detectives said that he actually started seeing whoever this DNA sample belongs to. And again, anyone that could have been around to contaminate it was eliminated. Has turned up in other labs, in other instances, that was handled by other technicians. So the way he broke it down is like, that's like winning the lottery over and over again. It just doesn't happen. And it's like, is this some kind of serial killer or some kind of brutal career criminal who's got away with a bunch of sick, twisted crimes over the years? And then the whole federal connection, like, I don't know, I'm not trying to put the tinfoil hat on, but I don't know if you guys saw, there was a total different thing, but I'm just throwing it out there. Like Manson, it really seems has ties to the feds. If you follow his life early on, the way he used to get out of a lot of crimes, it was like he was a protected asset of the feds or something like that. I don't know if it was with that MK Ultra stuff or whatever, but they didn't let him go down and go to jail till way later. But it's not exactly what I'm saying happened here. I just want to know why the feds are holding back. So there you have it, man. The yogurt shop murders. That's episode 4. I think that's all of it. I don't know if there's more episodes, but just what a crazy case. And once again, I want to know more about this DNA. We got to get to the bottom of this. Why are the feds holding back? And what is everyone's thoughts about the whole case, as well as the false confessions? It's crazy the way law enforcement, not even just on you know, cases like this. Because don't get me wrong, there is some sick son of a bitch out there that for sure did a crime. I mean, everyone's supposed to have rights and all that, but like some sick creep that did some horrific shit, he gets leaned on a little bit. I don't feel so bad, right? But these dudes, it was never clear they did it. They just wanted to convict someone, and it's absolute kind of ludicrousy the way this all was done. And then once again, the fact that to bring it all together, they didn't even know how to spell quiet right. It's like, man. So thanks again for tuning in. Let's talk all about this. And what do you guys think about doing a deeper dive into the DNA and finding out a little more about that? Would that be a series of videos that you'd be interested in? Jump in the comments and let me know. Again, don't forget to subscribe, hit the buttons, and stay tuned for updates on this case as well as other true crime and crime content. Gotta hear from you guys, the people out there. Let's talk it up on this. That DNA situation really irks me, and the whole feds thing.